It's really important for us to look at this whole silver scenario and why I think the silver move is just beginning. It didn't end on Monday and then, overnight on Tuesday when the bullion banksters came in and sold the paper. I think it's just beginning. Saturday, February 6, 2021, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So today we're going to look at the financial war between us deplorables and the silver users. And who are the silver users? We're going to come to that in a minute. One of the reasons though I'm making this video is that I got a few comments in some videos saying, why doesn't Elon Musk talk about silver? Why does he only hype up cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Dogecoin or even GameStop? And it led me to look into this question of the silver users. And I've been looking at this and researching it for many, many years, over 10 years. And I'm not going to go through all the question of the silver users, who they are. I think you should go to silverstealers.net. That's a really good website run by Charles Savoy. I contacted him about a year ago, just as the pandemic was breaking out. And he's very reluctant to do interviews. I don't know why. And he declined, but his information is great. So who are the silver users? Well, they are the big corporations that need to use silver for their products. Even Tiffany's, for example, the jeweler, they've been silver users and part of the Silver Users Association probably for decades, if not generations and generations. If we look here at Bullion Vault, it says, today silver is invaluable to solder and brazing alloys, batteries, dentistry, glass coatings, lead chips, medicine, nuclear reactors, photography, photovoltaic energy or solar energy, RFID chips for tracking parcels of shipments worldwide, semiconductors, touch screens, water purification, wood preservatives, and many other industrial uses. So silver, aside from being jewelry and also an investment vehicle, is a huge industrial commodity. Most of the use of silver is in industry. So these silver users, they want to keep the price of silver low. And it is my opinion that they work together with the bullion banks, which are basically the big banks on Wall Street, City of London, and elsewhere. And why do they work together? Well, because these big corporate clients, they work together with the big banks. So they try to keep the price of silver low because they want to increase their profits. I mean, have you ever looked at silver jewelry? How expensive it is relative to gold jewelry, seeing that the price is so low? Well, that's because the silver users have a lot of power. I'm going to go through an article right now from the lBMA, and I know the lBMA is part of the problem, but the thing about the lBMA, they will do good research, but they don't want you, the deplorables. And why do I call ourselves deplorables? Well, because we're the people that Hillary Clinton criticized, I guess, when she was running for president. And I'm not American, I'm in the UK, but we're just average people who want to be left alone, who want to make sure we protect our savings with precious metals, because we know the fiat currency system is doomed to fail, as all fiat currencies have in history. They've gone to zero all the time. But Hillary Clinton and the political class, they really work for the big corporate interests. And I think what's going on and started going on in the last week in silver, yes, it was triggered by the Wall Street bets and GameStop, but I think it's spreading from what I've seen from the people I've spoken to, people I hadn't spoken to before. I spoke in a video earlier this week that I had a live stream with a coin dealer in Houston, small business. He said it's going off the shelves. I'm sorry. Everything's going, all the physical demand is there. All kinds of people, young, old, that he'd never seen are coming to the shop. And yeah, I recommend you watch that video. I'm going to put it up in the cards in the description. And yesterday, for example, I went back on a Discord, the channel that I had been on a few years ago, but I hadn't been there in quite a while. And the same viewer that put me on to the Wall Street Bets phenomenon, who told me what it was all about, he sent me an invitation to this same Discord channel that I actually was a member of, which was quite a coincidence. And it's called Truth, Money, and Freedom. You might want to join them. I think there's over 4,000 members there now. And one of the members there, what he did, he's in Missouri. He drove about 45 minutes to go get some silver from a silver and gold dealer called Wise Wolf in Branson, Missouri, near the border with Arkansas. And the guy who owns the shop, Tony Arthur Byrne, he also has a really good YouTube channel. Unfortunately, he doesn't have too many subscribers, and I recommend you watch his latest reports this week. He's also been really busy. He's also seen a lot of new people coming through his shop. He's saying that unless he has the coins and bars in stock in his shop, it's taking weeks to put orders in, not just for silver, but for gold. So I think we're starting to see the public wake up to the fact that silver and even gold, they're real money and you can hold them. And some people it's like a revelation when they hold their first silver coin or gold coin. It was for me back in 2002. And I was about 37, 38. And of course, I'd had my wedding ring, which is white gold, and maybe a necklace. But I never really held gold or silver coins or bars, and you see what I mean. The other point I would make, you feel reluctant to give up your coins and bars because they're precious. And that's why I never get involved in the ETFs, because they're not real. Let's say you bought ETF this Monday past, and then the banks came, the bullion banks, and crashed the paper market. You probably would have sold it. It would be really easy. But if you just bought coins and bars of gold and silver, you don't want to get rid of it unless you're really desperate and you need to. Yes, it's going to be a little longer, this video, but I think it's really important for us to look at this whole silver scenario and why I think the silver move is just beginning. It didn't end on Monday and then, overnight on Tuesday when the bullion banksters came in and sold the paper. I think it's just beginning. I'm going to go through this lBMA article about industrial uses of silver because I think it's important, because this article was written in 2018. Yeah, fine. But why is that important? Well, because the forecast made by this researcher, Rona O'Connell, she didn't know that we're going to have the crisis that we're having right now, and that they're trying to bring forward all their changes, their new Green Deal, their new economy, their great fourth industrial revolution, and a lot of the technologies they want to bring in, be they nefarious or not nefarious. Everything needs, or almost all of these things need silver. So we're going to go through this to give you an idea of how important silver is. And her forecasts are like in the next 20 years, like 2040, she talks about. But I think with what's happened in the last 12 months, the globalists are trying to accelerate that process. So it's more like 10 years. So I think the demand for silver is going to be even bigger. And that's why it's a financial war. Not only will we be able to protect ourselves, in my opinion, because the inflation of the fiat currency system has to keep going, but we'll be making it more expensive for the globalists to implement the kind of system they want, the kind of economy they want. So I think it will be a huge financial war here, and I think it's just starting, and I don't think they like it. I mean, the fact that they had to come out and raise margins, they said it was because of volatility, but silver wasn't volatile in the lead up to Monday. It was just going up quite strongly, but it wasn't all over the place like that. It was just an excuse to slam the price down because, yes, they're concerned. The other thing that, aside from making the silver users' life more difficult and their profits lower, is that a higher silver price just shows how the fiat dollar or the Federal Reserve note is becoming more and more worthless. So that's the other thing as well. So let's go through this. The impact on the silver market of the auto sector electrification by Rona O'Connell, Head of Metals, GFMS, Supply Chain and Commodity Research and Forecast, Thomson Reuters. So, are these people thinking about silver stackers? No, they're not. And that's why they make this public. But we're going to go through this. This is only a small part of the story, however, and the long-term view is much brighter as technological changes drive different flows through the market. For example, silver demand was for many years dominated by the silver halide photographic sector before the onset of digital technology sent photographic demand for silver into a tailspin. In 1983, 35 years ago, photography accounted for roughly 49% of world silver offtake or demand. Now it is just 4%, dropping from over 4,500 tons to 1,325 tons. But new technological developments favor silver and the electrification of the vehicle fleets, prompting a considerable boost for silver demand. The electrical and electronic sector is already benefiting from early changes, and there is a fresh upside for the use of solar technology in autos. The sector currently absorbs over 3,000 tons per annum of silver from a standing start less than 10 years ago. Solar cells will be an integral component of some all-electric cars in future in order to circumvent any difficulty with ground-based power delivery networks. Indeed, in some places, this technology is already being employed. The Toyota Prius was the first model, 2016, to employ a solar panel roof to prevent overheating while parked. When a certain temperature is reached, a power supply is triggered to a fan. Since then, a small number of vehicles have been announced that use solar panels to deliver power into a battery, enhancing driving ranges, but not supplying 100% of requirements. One such is on the horizon for next year, but in extremely limited numbers. Future energy-independent vehicles will have various energy generating sources for continuous power, quite possibly including any rotating part that generates friction and heat. Solar panels in the side body work as well as the roof are an additional option under investigation. You can see why probably Mr. Musk doesn't really want to bring the attention of silver to the public. Current automotive usage and the changes on the horizon The auto sector currently accounts for approximately 1,610 metric tons of silver demand, equivalent to 10% of industrial offtake or 5% of total offtake, excluding ETPs. But this is set for dramatic expansion. So there you go. Growth should be solid in the internal combustion engine or ICE sector. So it's not just electrical cars, it's also the normal car, internal combustion engine car. But all electric vehicles, and particularly hybrid vehicles, are poised to deliver substantial increases in offtake or demand, and are expected to account for half of silver's automotive use by 2040. So yeah, she's using 2040. And as I said, it's difficult to extrapolate, but with the acceleration of this green move in the last 12 months, and also with the new administration, I think we could bring that forward maybe to 2030, just extrapolating here. Silver has the highest electrical conductivity of any metal, and this is key to the widespread use in the sector. The majority of electrical connections in a modern automobile use silver-coated contacts. For example, silver membrane switches are used to start the engine, move electrically powered seats, open, close electric windows, and silver is also endemic to heated seats, window demisting touch technology, and luminescent displays. In higher end models, it also appears in areas such as autonomous emergency braking. Meanwhile, while thrifting has generally been successful, the need for reliability at high temperatures and in corrosive environments has rendered substitution with nickel-coated or copper-coated components unsuccessful. Silver usage in the global ICE fleet is expected to grow from 1,491 metric tons this year to almost 1,800 tons by 2025 and towards 2,350 tons by 2040. This is predicated on auto production rising from 90 million vehicles this year to 95 in 2025 and holding broadly steady thereafter, but with per vehicle silver use continuing to rise. While ICE vehicles stabilize, electrified and electric vehicles are likely to deliver stellar growth. There is a fine point of definition here. Electrified vehicles are typically hybrid and referred to as battery electric vehicles or BEVs, or hybrid electric vehicles, HEVs, while all battery cars are referred to as electric vehicles or EVs. The global 2018 market share of HEVs and EVs is estimated at 6% and 2% respectively. By 2025, they will approach 14 and 6%, and the 2040 shares are projected at 27 and 22%. So another extrapolation here with the crisis that we had, with this move towards green energy and the fourth industrial revolution, whatever you want to call it. I think we could bring forward that date. So it could be by 2030 that we get 27% of vehicles being the hybrid ones and 22% being the all-electric ones. Think Elon Musk and Tesla. The emphasis on these two dates is because they are among the keystone of government targets in a number of nations for elimination of internal combustion engine. They do look somewhat optimistic, although the groundbreaking work at Volvo targeting 2019 as the year in which all vehicles rolling off its production line will be partially or completely battery powered. So yeah, as I said, I think this process has been accelerated in the last year, and they're going to push for more of this. You saw in my video yesterday about the Zoom Accord or the G7 next Friday. They're making this climate change, the environment, green technology, a major, how can I say, agenda. And they're like pushing it really fast now because of the crisis we've had. Potentially more significant are VW's far-reaching plans, which will involve much greater volumes, although over a longer time horizon for implementation. All brands are investing heavily in electric powertrains, with primary focus on Asia. In the Western Hemisphere, progress will be slower and focused on pickup trucks and SUVs, as this is where the demand and margin lies. In a KPMG report of early 2018, 72% of senior executives surveyed in the United States said that they would invest in full hybrids and plug-in hybrid EVs, 69% in pure EVs, and 67% in both battery electric vehicles with a large extender fitted and in fuel cells. The dates in the table below are aspirational rather than cast in stone and carry GFMS opinion in the right-hand column. The implications for silver from the development of this technology stem from its importance in complex electronics and a host of safety features as distinct from the solar cell aspect. Combined usage in 2018 in HEVs and EVs is estimated at 123 metric tons, and it is forecast to double by 2020 and to reach 450 tons in 2025. If the trajectory for 2040 proves accurate, then this sector of the auto industry could account for almost 2,200 metric tons of silver in that year. Automotive silver usage is thus expected to grow by an annual average of almost 4.8% per annum. By 2040, the industry could be absorbing over 4,500 tons of silver annually, up by almost 3,000 tons against today's levels, again equivalent to just under 10% of current global demand. We'll put a link to this article and put it down in the description for you. So yeah, this is one of the big reasons why I think Elon Musk is reluctant to talk about silver. I also wanted to point out to you guys, I did a video back last year. I think it was July 4th. It was a Saturday, and it was the day after this article in the FT on July 3rd, and it said, and I'm going to put a link to this video in the description and up in the cards. You can listen to the video as well. It's by an American guy that writes for the FT called John Dizzard. Almost like lizard, right? Don't bet on the silver boom. The industrial metal will not be dragged up by gold. At the time, on July 3rd, the price of silver was just below $18, and here we are at around 27, the spot price. So that was a Financial Times bottom for silver. But the reason why I want to go over this article is because they have a guy called Jeff Christian, who's basically a shill for the silver users. And I'll show you here. There you go. Silver Users Association. Jeff Christian of the CPM Group. So who is this character? He even goes on Kitco and on some other shows on the internet. But let's see who he really is. Jeffrey M. Christian is Managing Director of CPM Group, a precious metals and commodities research, consulting, asset management, and investment banking company based in New York City. He created CPM Group, and here's the interesting part, in 1986 when he negotiated a management buyout of the Commodities Research Group at Goldman Sachs & Co. which he managed at the time. It says here, Mr. Christian has worked on such commodity price risk management projects since the early 80s, has co-authored a paper on the subject for the World Bank, has advised the United Nations, World Bank, International Finance Corp, and governments around the world. So this guy, he's not a friend of us stackers. So instead of going through this article again, I recommend you watch the video, the Financial Times Silver Bottom, because I don't want to make this video too long, because there's a few other things I wanted to talk about here. So before I finish, I wanted to show this article that I found yesterday. I think it's from around 2016. It doesn't have a date on it, but the data he uses, the last year is 2015. So yes, this article is a very good article. It was written by someone called 401 Cadman, world years away from running out of silver. But at the same time, he says he forecast, and he was right. Even a year earlier, there was this deficit of over 100 million. And the other interesting points he makes, and I'm not going to go through the whole article. I recommend you read it. It says silver demand is surging and cannot be stopped. So here's the chart of global silver demand. You can see that most of it is for industrial use. It's the green bar, and then the other types of demands like jewelry, investment, and other. Silver supply is shaky and supply shocks abound. So there you go as well. Global silver supply going nowhere. He also talks about the cyclical nature of the commodities market, especially silver back in 2011 when the price of silver topped at around 50. Silver miners were producing. There's a lot of investment in mining, a lot of capital going into the system, but then the price dropped, and all that that flow of money and investment into silver mining went away. So we've had 10 years as well of very little investment into silver mines. What that does, of course, is that creates less supply, of course. The other thing he talks about, where does our silver come from? He talks about how the countries that mine the most silver are a lot of times very shaky in terms of politically and economically and socially, and that's a problem for a steady silver supply. He saw the silver price surging in 2020, and it did, because we got up to, from like in the teens to all the way to 30. And I think it's going to continue. And I recommend you read this article. And again, back in 2016, he didn't know that we're going to have the shutdown, that they're going to be trying to move the world into even quicker into this new Green Deal, or whatever they want to call it, and that silver would be even more important and necessary for technology. I think we are in a big financial war against the globalists, and by stacking silver and gold, if possible as well, what we'll be doing is making their project even more expensive. It might even discourage them from continuing, even though I don't think they will be discouraged. They'll just have to swallow the higher price. And unfortunately, they're going to probably pass it on to the consumer as well. I think it's also a way, of course, very important way of protecting yourself against fiat currency inflation. We're going to continue to see that. We saw yesterday Congress passed another 1.9 trillion. I think all the major Western powers are going to do the same. More fiscal spending, more money printing by the central banks, rates at zero, maybe even at negative here in the UK. Federal Reserve is going to have to keep creating reserves out of thin air. Reserves, of course, is what they call money within the banking system. Commercial banks and the Fed don't hold money, they hold reserves. But it's as good as being money, of course. So yes, we just need to keep stacking. We don't have a choice. The other way to think of it, of course, it is for every fiat dollar or Federal Reserve note or Bank of England note or Euro note that you keep, that you possess or you keep in a bank account, is financing these people. So the way to boycott them is through getting out of their system and stacking silver. And it has to be physical. You can't do it through their game, which is SLV, the futures, and the same goes for gold, of course. So there you go. It was a long video, but I think things are getting very interesting. Yes, yesterday gold and silver did rebound quite well, and it was encouraging to see gold actually close above 1800 and right near the highs of the day. Usually that doesn't happen on a Friday. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great weekend. Take care. Bye.